playing is not 100%, but it's the biggest part of it. And I know that guys don't like to hear that necessarily because that implies a lot of hard work and effort. But if everybody could do it, everybody be doing it. You know.
The most important thing is to get what the track's about, understand, and not just understand, but actually work out what the track needs. That's my biggest challenge. Somebody gives me a track, and the hardest thing, and I still put a lot of effort into it, is finding the right thing for that piece of music. So that involves judgment, taste, all of those different things, performance. So it's more important than anything else. That's the biggest thing for me.
Jeff Dugmore's another one who I know, for example, I was writing a couple of songs for Matt Cardle for the last album. Didn't get on, but Jeff was the drummer on the project. Now Jeff is your go-to drummer for those kind of projects, the big UK mass-selling albums. He's all over everything. Same with Ian Thomas and Pino Palladino on the bass, those kind of people. You go to them because they will do the session in the way that you want to within the budget and time constraints that you've got.
That balance was always the problem. You know, the best gear with no time or mediocre gear with all the time. Well, now, you know, God has blessed me in a way where I have like the best gear and all the time. You know, so now the situation is, you know, being wise from an artistic standpoint and going, I need to capture a performance here, and rather than the fact that I could sit here and take it 125 times if I wanted to, you know. But for me, like, that's not music. Music is capturing a performance. So I would rather spend that time practicing and being a better player and then just playing it twice.
I do think the emotion is critical, really critical, because sometimes, you know, music is an effect, and I want to know if people, it's particularly when I'm doing film music actually, but it applies to everything. People tell us what sort of effect they want. They say, look, this is really edgy, or there's some tension going on, someone's about to get bitten, or a monster's just about to jump out of a box, or something's going to happen, and I need this effect. I need tension, I need relaxation, I need unabounded love, I need anger, I need fury, I need chaos. All of these things are important, and if somebody says any of those words, I will try and conjure them up on the drum set, not just because it's a bit of a laugh, because I think that's the effect of the music. So it is a little subjective when you look at a song, and you could say, right, what about this tune? What are the emotions in that? Well, you read into those whatever you think they are. So yeah, listening to the lyrics is important, but it's getting the whole thing together that's important.
And more than that, I think he's so familiar with genre that you can give him a precise reference, Dusty Springfield, 1967, Atlantic, Memphis, and he'll know what that means. Mix Motown 65 with a little bit of Janet Jackson 1987, he'll somehow synthesize those things together, and it's because he understands styles and repertoire to the point, you know, his understanding of it's often greater than the producer's, and that's what we want, is somebody who knows it better than you do.
I play the drums with the vocal. A lot of times, the only thing in my ears for tracking, if I'm tracking by myself, then I want click and vocal. And I make sure that everything that I play feels good in relation to the vocals, so that nothing that I'm doing makes that there's a grind with what's going on from a timing perspective or a conceptual perspective, a lyrical perspective. You know, if they're singing about something serious or pretty, that I'm not like slamming the drums, you know what I mean? That it all is making sense. And then the next part is, let's get to the ensemble and make sure that's locked. There's a lot of guys that go, why play with the bass player? Well, it's not the bass player's gig, man. It's about the singer. He's delivering a song to the audience, and our job is to support that.
you need to know what your reference points are within the music. Extremely important. People will say, oh yeah, I want like a Motown sound, or Sound of Philadelphia, or I want it a bit more like this, or I want it to sound like James Gadsden with Bill Withers, or all of these reference points are important, and they will affect gear choices, recording choices, and music choices. So you must know your music. You just must know it.
I'm off a session where we got a drummer to work remotely on a track that is a songwriting thing, but absolutely critical is this understanding of the song. Now, this drummer was great, but he failed to understand initially the emotional context of the song. He was overplaying consistently through the process. I believe was tracking to click a backing track, only selected bits of backing track, wasn't listening to the vocal. To the point was he was banging his way through some really sensitive parts of the song where he was required to do something a little leaner, a little bit more under the radar. And I think drummers, in my experience, with the exception of people like Jeff and Ian Thomas, are less sensitive to vocals than they should be.
There's a big difference between great musicians who play drums and great drummers. There's great drummers out there, and they're awesome, but they don't know how to play music at a high level. And they're going to do clinics for the rest of their life, or something that doesn't involve playing music. The great musicians who play drums, they play with the great vocalists. Look at Jeff Hamilton with Diana Krall. Listen to Jeff Hamilton on the Barbra Streisand record. I mean, it's ridiculous. Or Natalie Cole's Unforgettable record. Or listen to Gad with Paul Simon and James Taylor. And, where you go, these are the great song storyteller deliverers of our time. And these guys play that music, to deliver those stories. And for me, that's the key.
It is much more difficult doing a remote session because you have to make all of the decisions on your own. And I do sometimes call the composer or the producer and ask them whether they want just cymbals at this point or whether they want a snare on the second verse, because sometimes you just don't know. And if you can get a decision from someone, it's nice to know. So a phone call will usually sort that one out.
If I think the song at a party, what do you hear? You hear a vocal and you hear drums. And, that's kind of a good record, is if the skeleton of the record, the drum, the rhythm part, supports the vocal perfectly, the rest is all just little sketches to fill the gaps in.
So I find the remote session quite difficult because I have to decide about everything, including the quality of the performance. So I might put myself under the spotlight just a little bit harder under the microscope and just say, could I have done that better, until I've got something. Whereas in a room, I might look at it and someone will go, yeah, I'm loving that, that's great, that's all I want. And I say, great, okay, fine.